okay? This is not a federal prosecution. Joe Biden or anyone from his Justice Department have absolutely zero to do with the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. They have no jurisdiction over him. They have no contacts with him. They have no control, certainly, over him. So to say that Joe Biden brought this case is one of the most ridiculous things I've heard. We know that's not the case. And even Trump's lawyers know that's not the case.
Now, wait right there, because as you say, even Trump's lawyers know that's the case. You were attorney with Trump. You were on Trump's case early and got off the case. So you're speaking as one that knew as you signed into work for Trump, which you explained on this show why, and you explained why you got out.
Okay, so picture this. You're Donald Trump. You're sitting in a courtroom. Your lawyers are beside you. Prosecutors are across the aisle. The judge is on the bench, and a witness is about to take the stand. But this isn't just any witness. This is someone who worked for you. Someone who was part of your inner circle, someone who knows all your secrets, all the schemes, all the crimes, someone you trusted, someone you thought was loyal, and that person walks up to the witness stand, puts their hand on the Bible, swears to tell the truth, and then proceeds to throw you completely under the bus. They testify about fraud, about obstruction, about hush money payments, about secret meetings where you gave orders, about documents you hid, about evidence you destroyed, and they're not vague, they're not speculating, they're providing specific details, dates, amounts, names, documentary evidence. And you're sitting there watching this happen, watching your own person destroy your defense, and you're panicking, visibly panicking, because you know that testimony just changed everything. But before we go any further, real quick, let's be honest, you can't really trust headlines anymore. That's why we built Pump Politics, to bring you real stories, real context, and no corporate spin. If you want to stay ahead of the headlines, join our free newsletter. We'll send the news straight to your inbox every day. Just click the link in the description to join. And if you just want to support what we're doing, join us, be part of the community that actually cares about the truth. All right, let's get back to the video.
I can't believe the hoax, this sham, this absolute injustice justice system, weaponizing the justice system of the United States of America against a political opponent. Un-American. Joe Biden, you're fired.
I do believe the Supreme Court should step in. Obviously, this is totally unprecedented, and it's dangerous to our system. This will be overturned, guys. There's no question about it. It's just going to take some time.
This is wild. This is absolutely devastating for Trump, because when insiders flip, when people from your own team start cooperating with prosecutors and testifying against you, that's game over. These aren't random accusers. These aren't political opponents with axes to grind. These are people who worked for you, who carried out your orders, who have firsthand knowledge of your crimes, and when they testify, when they provide evidence, juries believe them, judges believe them, and convictions become almost inevitable. So let's talk about it. Let's break down who flipped on Trump, what they testified about, how Trump reacted, and why this could be the moment that finally brings him down. Because trust me, this is massive. This is a turning point. This is Trump's worst nightmare becoming reality. Now, according to reports from October 27, 2025, Trump's former CFO flipped, the chief financial officer, the person who managed Trump's money, who knew about all the financial transactions, all the payments, all the schemes to hide money and avoid taxes and funnel cash through shell companies. And that person is now cooperating with prosecutors, testifying in court, and the testimony is devastating. The CFO detailed internal transactions that linked Trump directly to ongoing fraud and obstruction cases. They said the financial decisions, the questionable transactions, the fraudulent valuations, they were all ordered from the top by Trump himself. This wasn't rogue employees acting on their own. This was Trump giving direct orders, Trump deciding how to structure deals to avoid scrutiny, Trump directing employees to falsify records, and now Trump's own CFO is testifying to all of that under oath with documentary evidence to back it up. Bank records, emails, internal memos, all of it corroborating the testimony. And Trump is panicking, because how do you defend against that? How do you claim innocence when your own CFO is telling the court that you ordered the crimes? You can't. The evidence is too strong, the witness too credible, the testimony too detailed. So Trump's defense is collapsing, his lawyers are scrambling, and prosecutors are closing in for the kill. But the CFO isn't the only insider who's flipped. There's also the Mar-a-Lago IT aide. According to reports from September 2023, an information technology worker at Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate testified about efforts to erase surveillance video that showed classified documents being moved, video that could prove Trump and his team were obstructing justice by hiding evidence from investigators. And Trump's allies allegedly pressured this IT aide to delete the footage to make the evidence disappear, but the aide didn't do it, or maybe they did it, but then felt guilty. Either way, the aide is now cooperating with special counsel Jack Smith. They're testifying about the pressure they faced, about the orders they received, about Trump's efforts to obstruct the investigation into classified documents, and that testimony is incredibly damaging because obstruction of justice is a serious crime, and if Trump personally ordered the destruction of evidence, if he directed employees to delete surveillance footage that investigators wanted, that's a clear-cut case of obstruction. That's the kind of thing that can get you years in federal prison. And the testimony is coming from someone who was there, who received the orders, who can describe exactly what happened, and who gave the instructions. That's powerful evidence. That's the kind of testimony that wins cases. There are also reports about witnesses being warned not to lie or be intimidated. According to reports from October 2023, a judge warned Trump's legal team that they could face perjury and intimidation accusations if they pressured or threatened witnesses. The judge saw what was happening, saw Trump's team trying to intimidate people, trying to keep them from testifying or get them to change their stories, and the judge shut it down. The judge made clear that witness intimidation would not be tolerated, that witnesses would be protected, that Trump couldn't bully or threaten his way out of this, and that's significant because it shows that judges are finally standing up to Trump, finally refusing to let him abuse the legal process, finally protecting witnesses so they can tell the truth without fear. And when witnesses are protected, when they know Trump can't retaliate, more of them flip, more of them cooperate, more of them testify, and Trump's situation gets worse and worse. According to CNN reporting from October 2023, over 20 former allies and aides have turned against Trump in various investigations. 20 people, that's not a couple of disgruntled employees, that's a wave of betrayals. That's Trump's entire inner circle turning on him. And that tells you something. It tells you that Trump's loyalty only goes one way. He demands loyalty from others, but offers none in return. So when people face legal jeopardy, when they're looking at prison time, they don't protect Trump. They protect themselves. They flip. They cooperate. They testify because Trump wouldn't do the same for them. So yeah, this is the story. Trump panicking as top insiders throw him under the bus in court. His CFO testifying about fraud ordered from the top. His Mar-a-Lago IT aide describing obstruction efforts. Judges protecting witnesses from intimidation. And over 20 former allies turning against him. Trump's legal defenses are collapsing. And conviction is looking more and more inevitable. Let's break it down. Alright, so let's dig deeper into these insider betrayals and what they mean for Trump's legal future. Because when we say Trump's top insiders are flipping, we're not talking about low-level employees or peripheral figures. We're talking about people at the center of Trump's operations. People who know everything. People whose testimony can make or break criminal cases. Let's start with the CFO testimony. The chief financial officer of Trump's organization is one of the most important positions in his entire empire. This person managed Trump's money, structured his deals, handled his taxes, knew about every financial transaction. And if that person is now cooperating with prosecutors, if they're testifying about fraud, that's devastating. Because financial crimes leave paper trails, bank records, tax returns, invoices, contracts, and the CFO knows where all those documents are. They know what they mean. They can explain to a jury exactly how Trump structured deals to hide income, inflate assets, defraud lenders, or evade taxes. According to the testimony, the CFO said these decisions were ordered from the top by Trump himself. This is crucial because Trump's defense strategy has always been to claim he didn't know what his employees were doing, to say that if crimes were committed, it was rogue employees acting without his knowledge. But when the CFO testifies that Trump personally ordered the fraudulent transactions, that defense collapses, and the CFO's testimony apparently stunned the court. Even the judge was visibly shocked by what was being revealed. That tells you the testimony is powerful, it's detailed, it's credible, it's backed by evidence, and it's damaging in ways that Trump can't easily counter. Now, why would the CFO flip? Why would someone so close to Trump, someone who's been with the organization for years, suddenly turn on him? One, the CFO is probably facing serious charges themselves. Prosecutors likely offered a deal, testify truthfully, and get immunity or reduce charges. Stay loyal to Trump and face decades in prison. That's an easy choice for most people. Two, the CFO probably realized that Trump wouldn't protect him, that if things went bad, Trump would throw the CFO under the bus and claim he knew nothing. So the CFO decided to protect themselves before Trump could sacrifice them. Whatever the reason, the CFO flipped, and that's a disaster for Trump. Now let's talk about the Mar-a-Lago IT aide. This person worked on Trump's property. They managed the computer systems and surveillance equipment, and they have firsthand knowledge of efforts to destroy evidence. According to testimony, after federal investigators requested surveillance footage from Mar-a-Lago, Trump's allies pressured the IT aide to delete the video, to make the evidence disappear, to obstruct the investigation. Obstruction of justice is one of the most serious crimes you can commit. It shows consciousness of guilt. It shows you knew you were doing something wrong and you tried to hide it. And if Trump personally ordered or knew about efforts to delete surveillance footage, that's a clear case of obstruction. The IT aide initially faced pressure to go along with it, to delete the footage and stay quiet. But eventually the aide decided to cooperate with special counsel Jack Smith. They told prosecutors what happened. They provided evidence. They testified about who gave the orders and what they were told to do. And that testimony is incredibly powerful because it's not speculation. It's firsthand account from someone who was there, who received the instructions, who knows exactly what happened. And obstruction charges, when backed by this kind of testimony, are very hard to defend against. Trump can't claim he didn't know about the surveillance footage. He can't claim it was an accident. He can't claim it was someone acting on their own because the IT aide is testifying about specific orders and specific pressure from Trump's team. So Trump is facing serious obstruction charges. And the testimony from the IT aide makes those charges much more likely to result in conviction. Now let's talk about witness intimidation. Because Trump has a long history of trying to intimidate people who might testify against him. He attacks them publicly. He threatens them with lawsuits. He uses his power and his platform to make their lives miserable. But judges are catching on. They're seeing what Trump is doing, and they're putting a stop to it. According to reports, a judge warned Trump's legal team that witness intimidation is a crime, that pressuring witnesses or trying to get them to commit perjury will result in serious consequences. The judge made clear that witnesses would be protected, that Trump and his lawyers couldn't threaten or bully them, and that if they tried, they'd face charges themselves. This is significant because it removes one of Trump's most effective tools. He can't intimidate witnesses anymore. He can't threaten them into silence. The legal system is protecting them, and that means more witnesses are going to come forward. More insiders are going to cooperate. More testimony is going to come out, and Trump's legal situation is going to keep getting worse. Now let's talk about the broader pattern of insiders flipping. According to CNN, over 20 former Trump allies and aides have turned against him. 20 people. These aren't Democrats or never Trumpers. These are people who worked for Trump, who are loyal to him, who benefited from their association with him, and now they're all testifying against him. Why? Because when you face criminal charges, when you're looking at prison time, loyalty to Trump doesn't seem as important as staying out of jail. And Trump's pattern of throwing people under the bus, of abandoning anyone who becomes a liability, that makes loyalty a one-way street. So when Trump's employees and allies face prosecution, they don't protect him. They protect themselves. They cooperate. They testify. And Trump is left facing a mountain of evidence from people who know exactly what he did. This pattern of betrayals also tells us something about Trump's leadership. Truly great leaders create loyalty that lasts. They create bonds with their team that survive even in difficult times. But Trump doesn't do that. Trump demands loyalty, but offers none in return. He uses people and discards them. He protects himself at everyone else's expense. So when things get tough, nobody stands by Trump. They all flip. They all cooperate. They all save themselves. And that's why Trump is in so much trouble. Now let's talk about the specific cases where these insiders are testifying. We've got the hush money case, where Trump allegedly paid off Stormy Daniels and others to keep quiet about affairs. And insiders are testifying about those payments, about how they were structured, about Trump's involvement. We've got the fraud case, where Trump allegedly inflated the value of his assets to get loans and deflated them to avoid taxes, and the CFO is testifying about that, providing the financial records that prove it. We've got the classified documents case, where Trump allegedly took classified material and then obstructed efforts to get it back, and the Mar-a-Lago IT aide is testifying about that. We've got the January 6th case, where Trump allegedly incited an insurrection and tried to overturn the election, and former aides are testifying about that. So we're not talking about one case, we're talking about multiple cases, multiple crimes, multiple witnesses, all of them cooperating, all of them testifying, all of them providing evidence that Trump committed serious crimes. And when you put it all together, when you look at the totality of the evidence and testimony, it's overwhelming, it's damning, it's the kind of case that prosecutors dream about. You have multiple credible witnesses, you have documentary evidence, you have a clear pattern of criminal behavior, and you have the defendant's own words and actions proving guilt. That's a winning case. That's the kind of case that results in conviction, and Trump knows it. That's why he's panicking. Let's talk about Trump's reaction to these betrayals. According to reports, Trump has been visibly agitated in court. He's been hostile toward witnesses. He's been making comments and gestures. He's been struggling to control his anger as people he trusted testify against him. And that behavior, that's not helping him because juries see it, judges see it, and it makes Trump look guilty. Innocent people don't panic when witnesses testify. Innocent people welcome testimony because they know it will exonerate them. But guilty people panic. They get angry. They try to intimidate. They try to attack the witnesses. And that's exactly what Trump is doing. So his own behavior is reinforcing the prosecution's case. So yeah, multiple top insiders flipping on Trump, testifying in court, providing devastating evidence, and Trump visibly panicking as his legal defenses collapse. Let's talk about what happens next. Okay, so let's break down what all of this means for Trump's legal future and for American justice. Because the wave of insider testimony isn't just damaging Trump's specific cases, it's changing the entire landscape of how accountability works for powerful people. First, let's talk about Trump's chances of avoiding conviction. And honestly, those chances are shrinking rapidly. When you have your own CFO testifying that you ordered fraud, when you have IT staff testifying that you tried to destroy evidence, when you have over 20 former allies and aides providing testimony and evidence against you, how do you defend yourself? Trump's lawyers are going to try. They're going to attack witnesses' credibility. They're going to claim the testimony is motivated by deals with prosecutors. They're going to argue that the evidence is ambiguous or taken out of context. But here's the problem. When you have this many witnesses all telling consistent stories, when you have documentary evidence backing up their testimony, when you have financial records and surveillance footage and communications all corroborating what the witnesses say, it becomes very hard for juries to believe that all of these people are lying. So Trump's chances of acquittal are low, very low. In most of these cases, conviction seems likely. The evidence is too strong. The witness is too credible. The crime's too clear. Second, let's talk about sentencing. Because if Trump is convicted in multiple cases, if he's found guilty on multiple counts across different jurisdictions, we're looking at serious prison time. The fraud case could carry years. The obstruction case could carry years. The classified documents case could carry decades. And if sentences run consecutively rather than concurrently, Trump could be looking at life in prison. Now, there's always the possibility of appeals. Trump will appeal every conviction. He'll drag out the process as long as possible. But appeals are for legal errors, not for relitigating facts. And if the evidence is strong, if the trials are conducted properly, appeals are unlikely to overturn convictions. So Trump is probably going to end up in prison. Not definitely. There are always uncertainties in legal proceedings, but probably the evidence is that strong. Third, let's talk about what this wave of insider testimony means for future cases involving powerful people. Because what's happening to Trump could set precedents. It could show other prosecutors that going after powerful defendants is possible, that insiders will flip, that evidence can be gathered, that convictions can be obtained. For years, there's been a perception that wealthy and powerful people are above the law, that they can commit crimes with impunity because they have the resources to fight investigations and intimidate witnesses. But Trump's cases are showing that's not entirely true. Yes, Trump has delayed. Yes, he's fought every step of the way. But ultimately, the legal system is working. Insiders are cooperating. Evidence is being presented. Trials are happening. And convictions seem likely. And that's important because it sends a message. It tells future powerful defendants that they can't count on loyalty to protect them. It tells potential witnesses that cooperating with prosecutors is an option, that they won't be abandoned, that the system will protect them if they tell the truth. And it tells the public that maybe, just maybe, the rule of law still means something, that powerful people can be held accountable. Fourth, let's talk about the political implications, because Trump's legal troubles are affecting his political viability. Every insider who flips, every piece of damaging testimony that comes out, it reinforces the narrative that Trump is corrupt, that he's a criminal, that he's unfit for office. And while Trump's hardcore base might not care, other voters are paying attention. Moderate Republicans, independents, people who might have voted for Trump in the past but are now having second thoughts, they're watching these trials, they're hearing the testimony from Trump's own employees, they're seeing the evidence, and they're thinking, maybe this guy really is as bad as people say, maybe he really did commit crimes. So Trump's political support is eroding, not collapsing entirely, but eroding enough that his chances of winning in future elections are declining. And Republicans are noticing, they're starting to distance themselves from Trump, they're starting to look for alternatives, they're starting to prepare for a post-Trump Republican Party, because backing a convicted felon, backing someone who's likely going to prison, that's not a winning political strategy. Fifth, let's talk about witness protection and cooperation, because one of the reasons so many insiders are flipping is that prosecutors are offering good deals and real protection. If you cooperate, if you testify truthfully, prosecutors will protect you from retaliation. They'll offer immunity or reduce charges. They'll make sure Trump can't intimidate you or ruin your life. And that's working. That's why we're seeing this wave of cooperation, because witnesses know they'll be protected. They know cooperating is the smart move, and prosecutors are good at making deals. They're good at finding the witnesses who matter and convincing them to flip. So this trend is likely to continue. More insiders are probably going to cooperate as cases progress. More testimony is going to come out. More evidence is going to be presented. And Trump's situation is going to keep deteriorating. Sixth, let's talk about Trump's remaining options. Because at this point, Trump's legal situation is dire. He's facing multiple prosecutions with strong evidence against him. So what can he do? He can continue fighting, continue appealing, continue trying to delay. That's what he's been doing and what he'll keep doing. But that's not a winning strategy. It's just a delaying strategy. Eventually trials happen. Eventually juries decide. Eventually convictions come. Trump could try to win back the presidency and pardon himself. That's probably his best option from his perspective. If he can win in 2028, if he can get back to the White House, he could use presidential powers to shut down federal cases or pardon himself. But that's a long shot. His political support is declining. His legal troubles are mounting, and voters might not be willing to elect someone facing multiple felony convictions. Trump could try to negotiate plea deals, admit to lesser charges in exchange for reduced sentences, but that would require admitting guilt, admitting he committed crimes, and Trump's ego won't allow that. He's never admitted wrongdoing in his life, so plea deals seem unlikely, which means Trump is probably headed for trials, for convictions, for prison, and there's not much he can do to stop it. Seventh, let's talk about what justice looks like here, because if Trump is convicted, if he goes to prison, that's not political persecution. That's not a witch hunt. That's justice. That's the legal system working as it should. That's a powerful person being held accountable for crimes. And that's important, because for too long, powerful people have escaped accountability. They've used their wealth and influence to avoid consequences. But Trump's cases are showing that doesn't always work. That sometimes the system can hold powerful people accountable. That sometimes insiders flip, evidence comes out, trials happen, convictions result, and that's how it should be. That's democracy working. That's the rule of law surviving. So if Trump is convicted, if he goes to prison, people shouldn't see that as a political victory for Democrats or a defeat for Republicans. They should see it as justice, as the legal system doing its job, as accountability for someone who committed crimes. Because that's what it is. And celebrating that, supporting that, demanding that, that's not partisan. That's believing in the rule of law. That's believing that nobody, not even former presidents, is above accountability. So what's the bottom line? Trump is panicking because his top insiders are throwing him under the bus in court. His CFO is testifying about fraud ordered from the top. His IT aide is describing obstruction efforts. Over 20 former allies have turned against him, and the evidence is piling up. His legal defenses are collapsing. His chances of conviction are high, and he's probably going to prison. Not because of politics, not because of persecution, but because he committed crimes, and his own employees are testifying to that. The rule of law is working, justice is being served, and Trump is finally facing consequences for a lifetime of criminal behavior. It's about time, and it's a testament to the resilience of American democracy, that even someone as powerful as Trump can be held accountable, that even someone with his resources and influence can face justice, that even someone who thinks he's above the law can end up behind bars. So yeah, Trump is panicking, and he should be, because the insiders have flipped, the testimony is devastating, the evidence is overwhelming, and conviction is coming, justice is coming, accountability is finally arriving. Stay tuned, because the trials are going to be historic, the convictions likely, the sentence is severe, and Donald Trump's reign of lawlessness is finally coming to an end.